So, my channel is dying. And since I posted the last video about how aggressive activists can't comprehend the possibility that they could be wrong, I've lost about 127 subs as I'm writing this. But just between you and me, I'm successfully cleaning the lint trap in this channel as people unable to tolerate an opposing view or those suffering from some form of mental illness leave the channel. Those videos aren't coming down because they represent what I genuinely think about those situations, and while my presentation is deliberately abrasive, I'm a big fan of standing by whatever you say regardless of the trouble that it brings. This is a simple truth and a statement of fact. Here's another. Sweet Baby Inc. employees, their CEO Kim Belair, the racist Danny Lalonders, journalists, and many other activists regularly run away and hide their Twitter accounts when they voice their stances and opinions on controversial topics and then get called out as false or problematic. But if their diversity work in gaming is so important, why do activists run and hide when they're confronted with the facts? Cockroaches have a similar survival mechanism. They run and hide when you shine a light on them. Just to make something clear, these videos are intended for viewers that are capable of holding a reasonable discussion. The subjects of these videos, however, the people I'm talking about, are the absolute lunatics that scream hate word soup and hide once they become confronted with facts and opposing opinions. People like the workers at these diversity consultation groups. For them, it almost seems like the truth is a very troublesome and inconvenient thing. I mean, you had a Kotaku writer say that you can't be racist against white people, and once that tweet got community noted, she deleted it. And I'm pretty sure she made it private for a period of time also. Not because she doesn't believe what she said, but because she doesn't want anyone to challenge her with the fact that racism exists against every race of people, including white people. This roach-like behavior isn't limited to companies and journalists, of course. Regular users of Twitter X consistently roach out as well. They'll make a controversial liberal post and then limit the people who can reply in order to not hear any opposing views. Others will hide the replies that point out issues in the original post in an effort to filter out the conversation to avoid criticism as well. And all of them will, of course, throw out hate word soup as if that magically absolves them from any criticism and responsibility of what they've said. It's at this point that I should notify you that if you disagree with me or unsub from the channel as a result of what I'm saying here, then you're racist against Mexican Americans. I'm 100% right about this topic because I'm brown, and you're racist, Latinophobic, and Christianophobic. It's of course because of that kind of brilliant reasoning from bad faith activists and lunatics that the gaming community is having to deal with all of this subversive diversity from bad faith consultation groups in the first place. But now in 2024, we have groups of people waking up and sharing the information that these companies used to share themselves. And suddenly, now those companies hide that information and call sharing that information that they used to share harassment. Sweet Baby Inc. no longer has Suicide Squad listed as a game that they worked on. Black Girl Gamers were consulted on the story of Forspoken, but they mentioned later in an article or an interview that they came in later in the development of the game. Maybe in an attempt to shift the blame for the abysmal story, but that might not be the full story. It turns out that the Forspoken story was completely different from what the original writer had intended and was changed halfway through development. It's not completely outside the realm of possibility that the BBG consultants had a larger part to play in writing the Forspoken story after it was rewritten from what it was originally. And technically, coming in late in development. It doesn't really matter though, since the end result was a cataclysmic failure that destroyed an entire studio. And now, Sweet Baby Inc. is doing the same thing with Forspoken 2. This is Unknown 9 Awakening, a game in development by Reflector Entertainment, and in their 2019 nomination for the Shorty Awards, the entry credits include David Bedard and Kim Belair, co-founders of Sweet Baby Inc. As a result of this information going public, what did the Awakening Steam mods do? That's right, they banned anyone mentioning SBI or Sweet Baby Inc., deleting the majority of their forum posts and halting invites to their Discord. The light shined on their project, and just like cockroaches do, these people ran and tried to hide. And now, once again, we get to witness the magic of the Streisand effect. As I've mentioned before, their next move will be to label anyone calling out the connection as all of the hate words, and claiming that their studio is now being harassed. Now here's the thing. All of this diversity stuff in games is really just a symptom of the main problem that's plaguing games, movies, entertainment, and politics for that matter. Because all of it is connected thanks to money, greed, and desire for power over others. Bear with me for a moment while I break this down to the best of my own limited understanding of the situation. Companies like Sweet Baby Inc. run primarily off of grant money given to them from other companies or government entities. They do make money off of their consulting gigs, but I can't imagine that it's enough to run their companies for the extended time that exists between those gigs. Especially considering how long games take to be developed in the first place. Making games is very expensive these days, and it turns out that developers don't actually use their own money to develop games. They take out loans and have access to these grants. As a result, companies can gain ESG funding as long as they commit to certain demands that are made in the name of ESG. For those of you who don't know, ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, and companies have begun to be scored according to how well they align themselves with this ESG system. I think I'll explore this in another video if it turns out to be interesting enough. But one such demand that could be made of a company seeking funding is hiring an ESG-approved consultancy group like Sweet Baby Inc. or Black Girl Gamers to dig through their game and change any problematic material or characters to make them acceptable according to current DEI standards. In the end, these game devs are saying that they're all for the diversity gods. But is that true? Or are they forced to say it in order to secure funding to make their game in the first place? And when that game finally releases, will it be good? Or will it be another Forspoken cringe fest? In the case of Unknown 9 Awakening, their phenomenal character design and totally original story are sure to make players love this title. Stealing control over the bodies of others and making them commit self-harm and harming each other is certainly a trope that a certain group of people are absolutely going to love. Also, who doesn't love a completely original take on an oppressed female minority with superpowers taking revenge on a member of an elitist group that killed her father? That member's name is Vincent, and you get one guess as to what his skin color is going to be. Anyway, now that the baby is out of the bag, the trailers have been downvoted to oblivion, and hype for the game is limited to bets on how bad this game is going to fail. It's going to be devastating for Reflector Entertainment for sure, since this will be its first major release, and the studio itself is relatively new. Which is exactly why they're doing their best to hide their connection to Sweet Baby Inc. There is hope for the studio though. If they come clean about the studio's involvement and share what parts of the story were influenced by the consultancy group, that would show their willingness to be transparent. Then that studio could reject DEI as a focus, change the influenced part of the story to be less egregious, and adjust the main protagonist's appearance to align more to what the actor actually looks like. Maybe, if they do those things, they can pull this game out of its tailspin. That's the only way the studio can save itself from this Awakening disaster. Palworld, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, Baldur's Gate 3, and other recent examples highlight how well a game can do when it doesn't force, or isn't coerced into forcing, DEI into video games. But you won't hear about that from the ESG junkies. After all, Helldivers 2 is under fire for rejecting real-life politics, and Stellar Blade is being attacked for appealing to the male gaze. After the Unknown 9 fiasco, ESG-backed developers will be doing their absolute best to hide their consultants from being discovered in order to protect their future sales. But just like Dr. Malcolm says, life finds a way. Gamers will find the connections and put them on blast immediately, so there's no going back now for activists. Game developers focusing on diversity and consultants like Sweet Baby Inc. will continue to be exposed, and their games will fail if their only goal is to be diversive and inclusive, rather than simply being a good, fun game. Until then, we'll just have to keep shining a light on their connections and watch them scatter like cockroaches, rather than standing behind their statements like coconuts. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. You're welcome.